Alrighty. Hello, hello. Looks like we're live. I'm just going to go live on Instagram as well. How's everybody doing today? Welcome. This is Ajarae Coleman here for our second Powerhouse Conversation. I'm really excited for this one. So our topic for today is, if you're stuck, it's not usually your talent. It's this. And so we're going to really drop into one of the problems that actors are kind of afraid to say out loud. And this is that silent fear that if nothing's happening for me, maybe it's because I'm not actually good. Maybe it's because I don't really deserve to have the career that I've been working toward. Maybe I'm just not good enough. And I'm here to really kind of dispel that for you, because this thought can sneak in really quietly, even for trained actors who work a fair amount and are praised by, their teachers, and who know deep down inside that they're good enough. This can still sneak in because the results that we receive out in the industry don't always reflect the level of talent that we have. And this fear is also so kind of persuasive in an industry that doesn't give us a lot of feedback. We I just did a self-tape yesterday, and I think it was great. I may not hear anything, and that happens a lot, right? And so we really need to, what I really want to do today is normalize that, and reassure you in a way that a lot of the actors who feel stuck are actually really skilled, really smart, really serious about their careers. And moreover, they've done what they've been told would fix the problem. It's not a problem of effort. It's not a problem of, it's not that they're lazy. So the first reframe that I want to offer you is that being stuck is not the end. Feeling stuck is just information. And most of the time, it's not about talent at all. Okay, so I really want that to just land for you. So let's talk about what this actually is and what it's not. I'd actually love to talk about what it's not first, okay? Because it's not a lack of ability. It's not some missing class, right? That if you take this comedy class with this person, that all of a sudden things are going to shift for you. It's not that you need better headshots for the 6th time with a more expensive photographer. It's not that you need to want it more. What it usually is a combination of things. It's not having structure for momentum, so that when things do happen that are positive, when you do book a gig, or when you do meet someone, or when you do have some sort of breakthrough, that momentum continues. Usually things happen and then you expect it to launch you and it doesn't. And you wonder, well, what the heck, right? We need a structure for that. What it also can be is not having space for clarity. We live lives where we are bombarded by information all day, every day. And there's really, unless you carve it out, there's really no time for us to get really clear on the direction that we're headed and how to head there. And then the third thing is that there's no system for building relationships in a really strategic way, and for nurturing those relationships once you create them. And so what this all results in is way too much effort applied without leadership, without direction. And so that effort that you put in doesn't yield the results you want, which can be incredibly frustrating. Most actors do not need to try harder. They need to organize their energy differently. So we're going to talk about that today. So let's dive into the difference between talent and traction. This is really one of the core things that I want you to walk away from this conversation with. So what's the difference here? Talent, in my opinion, it's a prerequisite. Talent equals readiness, right? You have taken classes, you have and hopefully are continuing to develop your skills, especially if you're not working consistently and getting reps in the gym that way. Um, Talent really prepares you. Traction is movement and visibility and what you feel is the response to what you're putting out into the world and opportunities, right? Traction is getting the level of auditions that you want and feeling like things are moving forward. Talent prepares you, systems position you, and leadership is what sustains you. Leadership is what really sustains you. And so a lot of times talented actors get stuck longer than actors who are not as talented, which is actually crazy because they assume that, well, I'm really good and that should be enough. Or they assume that all the effort that they're putting in should be enough. Or they keep upgrading things and changing things and switching things instead of reorganizing in a way that really makes sense. And they internalize delays as personal failure. And this is really, really dangerous because when you're beating yourself up like that, it doesn't do anyone any good at all. So let's talk about the hustle myth. We got to get out here. We got to hustle. We got to make this happen. Hustle is very seductive. It gives you the illusion of control. It lets you feel productive even when you're misdirected. With my community, The Table, we talk about the actions that we take as one of two things. There are power moves that we make, and there's what we call paper pushing activities. And it's really, really seductive to do all of these paper pushing activities. You know, I'm working on my website, I'm making new clips, I'm recording self-tapes from my casting profiles. I'm doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. So you're doing a lot. You're spending a lot of time, you're spending a lot of effort, but none of those are power moves if we don't actually share them, if we don't actually send them out, if we don't actually get them into the hands of people who are going to begin to collaborate with us. So we can be out here working ourselves to the death, to death, but confusing movement with progress. So hustle really, the problem with it is that it replaces discernment with exhaustion. And it keeps actors really busy instead of being really strategic and spending the probably little time that you have on things that really matter. That's really where we want to be moving in 2026. So the key insight is that just because you're doing stuff and producing stuff and feeling exhausted, none of that is proof that you're doing the right things. None of that means that you're moving in the right direction. So we want to really take a step back from all that and get clarity. The missing piece is stewardship of your time and your energy and your relationships. And what do I mean by stewardship? I mean, like making conscious choices, choosing on purpose, creating containers, letting things compound instead of feeling like you're resetting every few months. Okay. So I want to pivot now that we have an idea of like, what is the problem here? I want to share some of the solutions that I work on with my clients, either in The Table or in my Amplify Mastermind group or through private coaching. So the first solution is really looking at how you plan your weeks, looking at weekly planning as self-leadership. I'm going to tell you for myself and for so many of my clients, weekly planning just changes everything. Planning can be really tricky for actors, right? Because there's this idea that we just need to be totally flexible and totally available because who knows when we're going to get an audition opportunity, or who knows when we're going to book something and have to go be on set, and who knows, right? And so we take these jobs that are super flexible. Sometimes we have multiples of them because they're flexible, but kind of all over the place. Um, we feel like we can't really make a lot of plans. We don't want to decide when we're going to go on vacation. We don't want to decide when we're going to do this big project. We don't want to lock ourselves in. And that means that we're not ever doing like the important things. We're kind of just chasing after the urgent things, making rent, right? Like getting this next headshot shoot done, taking this next class, but there's no overarching plan that we're working from. And so we just kind of tread water. So taking it from kind of daily planning to weekly planning is the first thing that really helps. If I say that I want to accomplish these 3 important things this week, if I sit down to do it on Monday and then I get a self-tape, okay, fine. It's fine that it didn't happen on Monday. I have space on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or even the weekend, right? So that's just kind of a practical thing about why weekly planning over daily planning just kind of works better for actors. It leaves our days kind of more flexible and doesn't put us in a place of like, I failed if I haven't done what I meant to do this day, right? On a bigger picture, weekly planning changes everything because it moves us out of reaction and into authorship of our days and our weeks. It really helps us begin to shrink that feeling of overwhelm into, okay, I have choices here. And it begins to build our trust of ourselves. It builds self-trust through follow through. Once you've done this for a few months and you realize how much better things are going, you start to feel like, oh, I'm somebody who does what I say I'm going to do. This is actually okay. This is actually pretty cool. So I really want to reframe planning for you as not like some productivity system, not as like I need to plan so I can get as much done, because that's just going back into the hustle thing. But I want you to really think about it as a ritual of leadership. Weekly planning is how you tell your nervous system, I got this. We've got this. Don't even worry about it. We've got a plan for this. And so, what does this practice actually do? What do you do it? Or what do you do within it? You really clarify what deserves your energy this week. You begin to stop the endless reshuffling of priorities, the making the list and then not doing anything on the list, and then you make the same list next week. It's like, no more of that. We need to turn our big goals into livable actions. And a week is a perfect container to plot those actions in. This directly addresses that problem of misaligned effort that we talked about in the beginning of this discussion. Okay. So that's solution number 1, is really incorporating a weekly planning ritual into your life. Solution number 2 is beginning to use stillness as a strategic tool. Clarity just continues to elude us as actors. And there are multiple things contributing to this. There's constant noise about what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, blah, blah, blah. So many experts, so many teachers, so many gurus, so many casting directors, so many agents, everyone has a platform and is telling us what to do. I mean, including myself, right? I know the irony of this, right? What I'm encouraging you to do right now is to get clear on what you want. And the way that we do that is through connecting inward with a stillness practice. So, in addition to the constant advice, we also have constant comparison. You see, on deadline that your friend who you were in acting class 10 years ago with is now on a series. Why is this happening for everyone else and not for you? Constant consumption, constantly taking in more information. Whether it's like industry related stuff or just the news, just like what's going on in the world. It's just overwhelming. And so when I talk about this with some of my new clients, they're like, wait, but I don't really have time. It's not, I feel like I don't want to be passive. I want to go out there and do things. I want to be proactive. Stillness is not passive. It's where discernment lives. It's where our intuition becomes audible. And it's really where we start to notice what's off before it completely derails us. I want you to just take a moment to think about situations in the past where you wish you had made a different decision. Chances are that if you had been more in tune with yourself in that moment, you may have. You may have made a different decision. But we are in a world where when we don't create stillness, the loudest voice wins. And it's rarely the wisest voice. The loudest voice is rarely the wisest voice. So we really want to get in the habit of connecting inward. And this isn't about perfection or like the perfect way to meditate or like spirituality or any of that, really. It's about nervous system regulation. I was at dinner with another coach actually for actors, and he was like, my nervous system is shot. And I was like, it's time to address that. It's really important that we address that. It's about decision making instead of spiraling. Stillness supports all of this. It supports better planning and better choices and better boundaries. It doesn't seem like you're doing much, ironically, but it can make all the difference. Truly. So the third solution I want to talk about, so um, we've talked about our weekly planning ritual. We've talked about stillness as a strategic tool. The third solution is just really knowing that relationships don't grow by accident. And of course, we all know, and we hear ad nauseum the cliche that this industry is built on relationships and it's such a collaborative industry. And it's true. Like we work together. And so if you have a network of people who are working, chances are you are working. And so here's the common pattern. You meet great people, you have great conversations, you have great connections even, and then nothing. Nothing happens from it. So I really want to reframe networking here and remind you that relationships are an ecosystem, that what kind of happens as you are in this game for longer is that your influence should compound over time. You meet somebody, you work on a commercial with them, or you meet someone in class, or you meet someone at a networking event, or you go to a workshop and you meet a casting director, or whatever. All of these relationships should kind of build on one another. So, in the end, momentum really comes from nurture, not from constant outreach, not from constantly like collecting more relationships. Actors tend to lose connections because they don't have a system, they don't have a follow up rhythm, and there's way too much pressure on like single interactions. So, what happens is that we meet great people, and then those great people go on to do great things. But by the time they do, we don't have a connection with them anymore. And then we're like, oh no, now I don't want to reach out because now it just seems like I want something. When really this was a relationship that you really did value authentically, you know? So you don't need more connections. You need better care of the ones you already have. And so creating a simple system creates continuity, it creates familiarity, it creates trust, it creates visibility without like having to do self-promotion, which can feel really weird for a lot of us. This is where opportunity quietly grows. Okay. So I want to tie this whole thing into one system for you. Weekly planning gives you direction, right? Stillness gives you clarity. Relationship systems give you that leverage. And together, they reduce overwhelm. They help build confidence. They turn all of your effort into traction. And they allow your progress to compound instead of having to reset every year or so. This is the Powerhouse operating system. This is what we're really stepping into. So, I want to guide you through an opportunity to just reflect on where you are right now, where you're actually stuck, and what you can do to move forward. So, I want you to think about, where are you expending energy without structure? Where do you feel like you're just putting a lot of effort, but it's just a little bit all over the place right now? I want you to think about, where are you avoiding stillness because it feels uncomfortable, because you don't feel like you really have a way to do it that feels good yet. And I want you to also think about, where are you letting relationships fade instead of tending to them? Like a garden. I love that metaphor. Planting seeds, tending to your garden. You're not going to plant a garden and then just disappear and just let it dry up and wither away, hopefully. Actually, I'm not great with plants, so I probably wouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't use that metaphor. But ask those three questions and begin to locate the real issue. So I just want to leave you with this. Know that being stuck does not mean you're behind. It does not mean that things are hopeless at all. Quite the contrary. It means that something needs leadership. Your talent is likely already there, and you're working on it. You're continuing to work on it. Keep doing that. But when talent is paired with structure, stillness, stewardship, movement becomes inevitable. Movement becomes inevitable. And I want you to really, really, really believe that. So I invite you to stay in the conversation here, stay curious, ask questions, and really stop trying to fix yourself. You don't need fixing. All of these things are systems that we can incorporate. Okay. So thanks for tuning in. Let me know what questions you have, and I'll see you next week.